Hey, by the way, happy birthday, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Think I don't follow social media and know that it's Tom Langan's birthday. How dare you? So one of the things here's a couple of these subjects. I have them written down. I'm going to go that I wanted to discuss today. And
Okay.
we go 1,000 different directions every week, but here is
True
some of the
story.
things. Yes. Yeah. No matter what, we end up talking about this or that, but I'm going to read them off the list that I had.
Can I interject real quick before you do that?
Please.
I just want to say that's actually one of my favorite things about this, right? Is that we allow the conversation to go where it needs to go, right? And one of the things that drives me nuts about a lot of Clubhouse rooms is not only do I think they're kind of overly structured, they're almost like scripted, right? You go into a lot of rooms and you hear the people, like whoever's on stage, there's like 5 people on stage. They're the only ones that talk and they say the same stuff kind of over and over and over again. Or every time somebody comes up on stage, it's like the same, like 30-second, like elevator pitch. And I really like that we don't do that our focus is actually on community building and providing value to the people that come into this space and share this room with us, and not on trying to self-promote, which I think is rampant in business. And so I think Clubhouse and the fact that we see that rampant on Clubhouse is just a reflection of how a lot of people approach it. But I just wanted to say that I love that we meander. I think it's actually a really good thing.
It's funny because you say that. And one of my things here is, are you pushing stuff down people's throat or are you letting people know what you do? And so on Clubhouse, in general, networking groups and things like that, let's talk about that. How many people go to a networking group, or like I consider Clubhouse like networking? How many people go through, attend one of these events and just shove it down your throat? And all of a sudden your DM's full with how they're going to help you. How'd you know I even needed help? Maybe I am completely content in that. Or they read your LinkedIn and see something Tom did 6 years ago and they call him up and they're going to help him with that aspect of his business. Well, I don't even do that anymore. I don't want to do it. And you calling me up and telling me how great your product is on something I don't even do lets me know that you don't care about me at all. How often does that happen?
Yeah, I think, you know what I think that is I think it's a symptom of an overall misstep in the approach, right? And I think often what happens is people have an existing business, so they have a solution, right? And they go looking for problems, right? Rather than they go looking for problems that fit their solution rather than listening for problems and then finding a solution that fits that problem, right? So like that happens, I think that happens all the time. It's endemic in business that people go looking for problems that fit their preconceived solution, right? Rather than adapting their solution to fit the problems that actually exist. And yeah, so like, I think that's one of the things, it's in my approach in networking, right? Like I'm a member of a bunch of several different like professional networking organizations. And in my approach in networking, and I actually tell other people to do this, is my approach is to build a relationship. Like that's what I'm in those networking groups to do. I'm there to relationship build, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good I am at what I do. It doesn't matter how good my services are. It doesn't matter if my prices are the best. None of that matters if people don't know me and trust me, right? And the only way people get to know you and trust you is if you build relationships with them. So it's a long game. And the problem is that we've been fed this sort of steady diet of quick fixes, right? Through social media. You see them all the time, in 3 steps to triple your business, 2 steps to lose that last 10 pounds of fat, like 1 minute, 6-minute abs or whatever, like crazy, shortcut solutions. And the truth of the matter is there is no shortcut solution. That nothing in life, there is no shortcut for anything. Everything is a long game. Everything, right? So like fulfillment is a long game in life. Everything is a long game. So if if you try to quick fix stuff, you're going to end up being disappointed. You're going to end up falling short of your goals, and you're going to end up running around looking for problems that fit your solution because you've got this solution in a box and now you just got to sell it, right? Rather than building relationships and actually, growing your business because of that.
Tom, tell me about this fulfillment is a long game. And only because, and I believe in this 100%, but then at the same time, people are like, well, you need to be happy in this moment right now, this second. So it's contradictory in some ways, but they support the others. One, like I can be happy walking that, like I tell a story sometimes of me bike riding to DC with my dad. And it all got flooded and we're pushing and we just had 2 little packs on our backs and we went like 3 states. I have nothing with me, and I am one of the happiest times of my life will always be that moment walking on the 201 in Maryland or whatever it is while the tractor trailer trucks are going by us, and I'm thinking I have nothing, and I am as happy as I've been. This moment I could live like this, but there is also this thought in business and stuff where a means to an end. I'm working to get to this point later on. So how do we attack that balance?
I mean, I think, I'm going to use a cliche, but, it's all about the journey, right? And yes, the destination matters, but really it's about the process of getting there, right? You're talking about like walking down a highway with tractor trailers like blowing by. So like the place where you identify as the happiest you've ever been during that trip, during that period of time, was not when you got to the end, right? It was in the middle or during the journey, right? And so everybody wants to skip to the end, right? Like I hear this song all the time on TikTok, where it says like, let's skip to the good part, right? The song trend that I'm talking about. So like, let's skip to there's a phrase, like there's the song starts and it goes, and then you hear somebody say, let's skip to the good part. And then there's like a transformation and they jump. So that's the way people have been using that as a trend on TikTok. But it makes me think of like, that's what people want to do in real life, right? They want to jump to the end. They want to be at the finish line rather than being in the middle of the race. But like where you grow, where you learn, where you form those memories, right? The moments you cherish are the moments in between, right? Not the 2 photographs, right? So it's not, you take a picture of somebody, today and a picture of somebody in 5 years. Are the 2 favorite moments in time when each of those pictures were taken, or is it the moments in between? Right? It's the moments in between those snapshots that really matter. It's the
And
moments in
Tom,
between.
to that point, those moments in between were also unplanned a lot of times where yeah, I know end point, I know beginning, but so continue. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I mean, so it's those moments in between that really matter. It's those moments in between that, we find fulfillment in, right? Those moments in between. And when I talk about like lifetime fulfillment, nobody talks about, looking back on their life, without regret. Nobody talks about, well, this one time I made this, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, nobody talks about, people don't typically talk about or think about when you hear these kinds of things related, people don't talk about like sales goals, right? They don't talk about that time that they made a deal for their business, right? They talk about the things that really mattered to them, like how that changed the life like their life and their family's life, right? So like maybe they made a deal, but then what was the effect of that, right? They talk about how it meant that they could, provide experiences for their kids or take their kids on their first vacation that they'd ever taken their kids on because of that deal. So it's not about the deal, it's about the opportunity those things provide, right? It's about the time spent with friends and family. It's about the work you put in building the business, right? So things like that. But it's not about it's not about the finish line. It's about what you do in between, and it's about living a life where you can reflect back on it and really focus on those moments, those times in between, right? You're not focusing on like my favorite, when I think back of like my Ironman experience, right, that I documented on social media, and now I'm doing my training for the marathon that I'm also documenting on social media. Like when I look back on those experiences, that was months of work that went into less than 12 hours, right? And that moment at the finish line is a moment. My favorite time from that whole experience is not that 30 seconds when I ran across the finish line. Right? It's not it's actually after the fact. Right? It's after I started getting feedback from people, I started hearing from friends and family. It's when I heard from random strangers on social media, telling me how like what me sharing my journey means to them, right? Like that's what it's about. It's not about that 30 seconds when I ran across that finish line. Right? That was inevitable. That was going to happen. Right? That was not a question mark. Right? The rest of it that were surprises and unplanned, like you said, like those are the things that really made it a rich experience. So yeah, I mean, again, it's about the moments in between. And I think they get lost a lot in this idea of quick fixes.
Yeah. Hey, and anybody that's been listening so far, we started off, we talk about how we go all over the place, and it's interesting. We got to the hashtag in our, not the hashtag, the dash. They talk about that dash on the tombstone. You have the date you're born, the date you die, but the most important thing is that dash in between, and that's what me and Tom had started to talk about here. Uh, we were talking about business. We're talking about rooms that are preset, clubs that are preset where everybody comes in and gives your pitch. Give us your 30-second pitch. Or they come in and say, okay, now, Julie, we need you to do this right now here. And we were talking about how sometimes we enjoy the journey, and we started talking about it wasn't about that, it was about the journey and the conversation that you guys create, and and the conversation that happens organically when it wasn't planned out. And that's what we're talking about today. But here were some of the things that I had on a list that we started off. We were going down this way. Are you clear on your message? Are you just, and then we started talking about, are you pushing stuff down people's throats? Are you selling, or are you just pushing your message down people's throat? You go to a networking event and you just push things down people's throat. I had on my list, are you a jack of all trades and master of none? Are you out there trying, we talk about this every week. Should we be on TikTok? Should we be on Instagram Reels? Should we be doing a podcast? Well, are we doing so many things we don't even know what we do? Do you know what you do? Do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you want to do? This is fun for me. This is in my flow. This is hard and I don't like it. Last week, Johnny talked about, I think it was it Instagram? He said, or TikTok. He said, I don't like it. It's hard. I don't get it right. Then this isn't for you. But what are the things I like that I like creating? So let's talk to some people. Kyle, man, thanks for coming up. We appreciate you. You go wherever you want to go. Kyle's killing it on his podcast. We got to get you on that. I want to get on that podcast. He's killing it over there. So Kyle, give some tips, drop some info, talk about which one of these points had you thinking. So go on, Kyle.
Oh man! First off, I'll message you the link to get on the podcast for sure, man. I would love that. Honored to have a conversation with you. Man, I love the you hit a point that's a bit of a soapbox for me on like going in. Are you just pushing things down people's throats? When I go to networking events, I tell people like, yeah, what you do is great, but I just want to know, like, do you like ketchup on your hot dogs? Like, I want to know you. I want to know your family. I want to know what you do for fun. And yeah, we'll talk about business and whatever. But do I'll ask people like ketchup and mustard. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, listen, we can talk about business all day long. We can talk about what we do and everything, but I am much more, I don't know if it's, I was a pastor for 13 years, so that was a big piece of me is just connecting with folks, hearing about who they are outside of what they do. And even the first question on my podcast is, we go through all the accolades and the receipts, if you will. And I go, okay, all that's great, but who are you behind the bio? That's what is important to me. That's what is going to actually build community and connection to where I know, hey, man, Dominick, Tom, I know exactly who I can help and get you connected with, or what you could do, or how you could benefit somebody in my network. And the greatest compliment we can give somebody is introduce a friend to our friends. And we can't do that if we're not trying to build friendships. And so I loved that. And, the dash between the dates on the tombstone is the most important thing. And I loved how you were saying, I think about, my kiddos, like there's things on there because I started my business and left vocational ministry because I wanted to give presence of time, not just presence of things. And that was a focus of mine. That was why I wanted to do what I do. And that's important to me. So I love being a part of this conversation, and I would definitely send the link because I'd love to record a podcast with you.
Hey man, I'd be honored. And one, I must be getting soft because, and is soft a bad thing? But here he asked a question about ketchup and mustard on a hot dog, and I get it. And I feel like I know Kyle so much better from that basic question of here's him going to a networking event where all these people are pushing stuff down your throat, and he just wants to know the person and asking somebody like ketchup and mustard. Which one? Which one is it? Here, what would you call that? Taking down the wall between you and somebody else, and people are so uncomfortable. And he asked that question. Go on, Tom.
I mean, it's kind of an icebreaker, right? But I mean, initially, as soon as Kyle said that, I was like, right away, I'm like, all right, what's my question? What's my question? Like, I'm already thinking, like, because I love that idea of just saying ketchup or mustard. I mean, and let's be honest. There's a right and a wrong answer, right? And unless you're under 12 years old, the right answer is mustard and the wrong answer is ketchup. Because only children should put ketchup on hot dogs. As a New Yorker, I'm going to stand by that. But but yeah, I love that idea. So I'm like, I'm already thinking, and like, of course, me being me, my mind goes immediately to asking people like what their favorite bedtime story was as a kid or something like that, right? Because I immediately want to get into like talk about storytelling because that's what I love, right? And it's something we all love, so it's kind of a universal thing. Like everybody has a favorite story or a treasured memory of a bedtime story or something like that. So like a story from childhood. So yeah, I right away I'm like, what's my question? I'm already thinking, and I've got a networking event tomorrow evening that I'm going to, and I'm gonna break that out. We'll see how it goes.
Kyle, see what you created here with your ketchup versus mustard.
Come on now, I love it.
Hey, Johnny, go on, man. What do you got?
I love that. So when I am interviewing any celebrity for my podcast, Back of the Cereal Box, or when I'm at a networking event, but especially when I'm doing a celebrity interview, the first question I ask is, what is your favorite breakfast cereal? And the follow-up question is, all right, you got your big bowl of cereal, you're sitting down to watch cartoons on Saturday morning. What are you watching? And that's how I start every interview.
Johnny, I love it. And I would go Smurfs or G.I. Joe. I love those Smurfs. I had a whole collection of Smurfs. And years ago when I was down and out, sometimes when you're down and out, you do things that you wish you wouldn't have done. I sold all my Smurfs when I was down and out. I'd love to have those Smurfs to give to my kids at these days. So damn it.
I have just learned more about Dominick with that one statement than I've learned in the last year and a half.
Tell me what you learned about me having Smurfs. Had a whole collection. I saved up like $3 at a time. I love my mom to death. And she was so good to me all these years. But when I used to save up for something, like if I saved $3 for a Smurf, usually if I saved up for a Smurf, she would buy me another Smurf. So that's what to carry on to that, Johnny. What did you learn?
Just that you're uniquely you, Dominick. That I have never met anyone who collected Smurfs, and I love that.
Okay, we used to go to the Hallmark store, but we got to move. We go to the Hallmark store, and
I remember that's the only place you could get them. But they were popular before there was even a cartoon series as collectibles, and you would get them at Hallmark or gift shops. And then when the cartoon series came on, man, they just exploded everywhere. But yeah.
And I even had a plastic case with a big Smurf on it. It was like this thing was probably about 2 foot, and inside you could put each little Smurf. And I had so many Smurfs that they didn't all fit in the case. I had to put like 3 in one little hole.
So here's the real question now, Dom. Will you sing the theme song for us, please?
Johnny, I don't even know it at this point.
Yes, you do. La 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 la.
Okay, la 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 la. Does it have words? Did it have words?
No.
Okay, we are off the Smurf topic. Let's see. Back to my question. Jack of all trade, master of none. Do you know what you do? Do you know what you do, what you want to do? Are you clear? Is your message clear? Monetizing was on there too. Let's meet David. David says, I'm really outside. Well, is he on the phone or is he just saying he's really outside in that picture? The picture looks like he is.
That's Good morning, everybody. That's West Virginia, whitewater rafting in West Virginia.
Yeah, man. I went whitewater rafting and my wife fell out of the boat. And she is so scared to do it now, but she fell out of the boat. And the guy on the back of the boat was just standing there and I had to reach in and grab her. And they actually got pictures of it. And I cannot share those pictures because they're not that flattering of when we're pulling her back up into the boat. She would not love people to have me share that. But David, go on. Give us a tip. You hear what you're talking about. Ask us a question. We got an eclectic room, eclectic conversation. We're talking about hot dogs, ketchup, Smurfs, and the dash on that tombstone. So go on, my friend.
All right, question. Say for instance, you ask a question, and there's dead space. How do you kind of fill that dead space? If you're like, hey, da 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 da, and then the guest is like, and then it's like a little bit of dead space. How do you kind of jump back and say? Do you say something, or what do you do if there's a little bit of dead space?
Johnny, go on. And then Kyle, you can tackle that too. Go on.
Embrace the space. Let the space exist. Let that question breathe and percolate. Don't jump in. Wait.
I see Johnny's giving us some dead space there. What do you got, Kyle? What do you got? Intentional dead space. Sometimes when we do film and the guy that edits, he leaves the weird spaces and looks in, and I'm like, I thought you would edit it, but I get it. That weird space that adds quirkiness to it and uniqueness. Kyle, what's your answer on that?
Yeah, David, I think it's important too to even set up the on the front end. Go, hey, if there's a question that you ask, you got to think about, hey, if there's too much time, it's fine. We can edit it out. Just as much as you can make a guest feel comfortable on the front end before you hit record. And just, there'll be times where I'll give clues to my editor and go, hey, hey, we're going to redo this again, have that time stamp it so he can cut it out. But if it's dead space, that's okay. I mean, I was a youth pastor for 9 years, so I got really good having students look at me like I was nuts and just sitting there in silence. So I'm okay with the silence, much like what Johnny was saying. But just let it sit and allow them to process the question. Or if you want to not have as much, you can always send questions ahead of time, at least a flow of what you're going to ask, so they're better prepared, so they're not caught off guard by a question.
Tom, what do you think about that? And sometimes the silence, the one point I'll say is sometimes, like, let's say we're up on stage and we're speaking, sometimes the silence isn't as long as you think it is. You could pause a lot of times, and that pause is nowhere near what I want everybody here to practice your hard pause today. But Tom, go on.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to do here, right? So one is, if you're doing an interview with somebody and there are uncomfortably long silences after you ask a question, that may be a signal to you that you need to do better interview prep with your guests, right? So spend a few minutes right before you start recording, do a little bit of interview prep. And what I mean by that is really just loosen them up. Loosen them up, warm them up, get them comfortable, make sure the conversation is flowing a little bit before you dive deep into the interview, to help alleviate some of that uncomfortable pausing. If the pauses are uncomfortably long, right? I'm talking about you ask a question and you just get a blank stare back from somebody. They have no idea where to even start unpacking the question, right? Sometimes that's because some people are just not good at being interviewed, right? They're not good interview subjects. And sometimes it's a clue that you need to work on your interview skills. But if it's just a quick pause, if it's a breath, if it's just a second or two while you see them kind of organize their thoughts, oftentimes most people will try to fill that silence, right? In conversation, we don't like to have silence. So if you're having a conversation with your guests rather than sort of an interrogation, right? If the interview is more of a conversation, they will naturally try to fill those pauses and try to fill those gaps. So they'll start using fillers. You'll ask a question and they'll start going, wow, that's a really interesting question. I never really thought about it like that. But I guess if I had to, I would maybe say, right? And all of those words are filling up space so that they can formulate an answer in the back of their mind, right? Before it comes out of their mouth. So I think it comes down to a couple of things. It comes down to interview prep. It comes down to making sure the interview is conversational, making sure you have good interview subjects. Not everybody is good at being interviewed. And if somebody's just giving you one word answers and then staring at you, maybe that's a podcast you're going to have to leave on the shelf. But usually, you can avoid those kinds of situations by doing a little prep and having at least one conversation with them before you book them on the podcast. Just a thought. But yeah, I think I agree with Johnny. I think pauses are totally okay. It's okay to have a moment to breathe in between a question and an answer. Doesn't have to be wall-to-wall words.
Hey, David, thanks for the question. And anybody, should you have a question, feel free to hop up anytime, flash your mic, ask if you raise your hand, whatever. We try to be all-inclusive here. So sometimes we may drop the ball on, once the room gets a little bigger, we're trying to handle the screen and the stage and stuff. But we try to ask everybody, if you want to come up, if you want to raise your hand, whatever. We'd like to hear your questions. We're going to go to Jamie and then Julie. Jamie, what are your thoughts on all this? Um, how are you doing today? Hold on. Let me see here. I'm actor, voiceover actor, podcast. I watch these people when I do work for Netflix and stuff that are actors, and it looks so hard to memorize all that stuff. I'm watching them sitting there, and somebody memorizes like 55 minutes of dialogue or 3 minutes of dialogue, and I think, man, how the heck do they do that? It's right on every time. So, Jamie, what do you got going on for us?
Well, hi everybody. It's Penelope here right now. I just wanted to say hi and tell everybody I enjoy podcasts. I always talk to all my podcast interviewees before we chat. Hi guys, it's Jamie Hill. Johnny knows who I am. I'm a Canadian actor, voiceover artist. Apparently sound a lot like Sarah Silverman, but I don't have the potty mouth because, I'm Canadian. I like being funny. I like being on Clubhouse. I've been here since it started, networking my little tushy off. I've gotten a lot of places. I'm on my second audiobook with Mark Redfield. And, it's not the little girl voice, it's like witches and scary stuff. So I followed you guys in. I see Tom, I see Johnny. Like I've seen you guys before. So good morning. I'm Jamie Hill, and I popped in just to have a listen and say hello.
Jamie, okay, so as somebody doing it, making a career of all these things, what advice would you give to people that want to be where you're at? They want to be Jamie.
You just got to take that step forward and just do it. You can't just sit there and look at it and go, I could sit in a closet and make some neat voices. People will pay me to make some funny little voices that sound like little girls or something. Okay. And I can do it in my house. Why would I say no? But I was afraid. I didn't step forward. So I kind of did say no. But you know what? COVID got me thinking I can't be a psych aide at a hospital. So I did voiceover and I found Clubhouse. So these two things, and I have a mentorship group that I'm working with on Facebook with Tina Imahara. She's my mentor. She helps me do podcast interviewing directors. And because I'm Canadian, I do many Canadian actors, directors, and everyone in that. So it's been a growth of podcast voiceover, indie acting, and lots of PA work because I really just like helping behind the scenes too. So yeah.
And Johnny is a huge Jamie Hill fan.
And that is your that's like a seal of approval. You should sell those, Johnny. Approved by Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny. I agree.
Okay, let's keep it rolling. Clubhouse publishing, podcasting, and social media. That's like what do you call that when it's hard to say something because it's got so many things that sound alike? I don't
A
know.
tongue twister.
A tongue twister. There you go. And we see Julie's coming. Julie's coming, going. Julie, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. You're staying here right now. What do you think on all this? Where are your thoughts at? Don't leave the stage. Go on. Let's see what was going on. She was flashing. Nope, see, she's gone again. It's like it's magic. I pull down the screen, I refresh. Julie's in a different spot. I don't know if anybody's seeing that.
Yeah, I wonder if she's got connection issues or something that's bouncing her around.
I just want to keep doing it. Hey, because it's neat seeing her bounce around. Hey, I want to tell Cynthia down there. Cynthia, it says Paranormal Author. I did a video the other day. We were doing paranormal for bikes and hikes. We had a paranormal bikes and hikes episode. And so we brought in this guy, Stan Gordon, who hunts Bigfoot, and he's been in some movies, and he was on Unsolved Mysteries. And so we followed him around, and he gave us his thoughts on giant birds and thunderbirds.
Oh my gosh, I got to see this, Dom.
It's not
you gotta
out
send
yet.
Me a link.
All right, when it comes out, I'll send you a link. I can't even tell you, but there was we went to this place, Kecksburg, where supposedly a UFO landed at one point. So, and we went with the paranormal expert, and he taught us all these things. And then I hope it makes the cut. We went into a bar with the my producer will be mad if I tell. We went into a local bar in this town where the UFO landed with the paranormal expert, and it was great. I hope that footage makes the show, but since that's not biking or hiking, I don't know if it will. But that was my favorite part.
Oh, I love this whole idea. I got to see this.
Yeah.
Speaking of paranormal, Dom,
Yes.
for the month of October for Back of the Cereal Box, every Saturday morning, I am going to be telling a ghost story from my ghost tours that I do here in Nashville. So spooky season is upon us.
Love it, brother. Love it. Okay, Julie, do you have connection issues? Are you here? We need Julie. Julie, I follow Julie. I love all Julie's content. So when she pops in there, we want to give her a chance. Julie?
I'm here. I don't know what's going on. I had to turn my phone on and off, but sometimes it gets glitchy, as we know.
We're glad you made it back. She's a commissioned writer now. She's a podcaster. She's an influencer. So, what advice do you have on all these topics, from paranormal to Smurfs to the dash in between in our lives to awkward pauses to awkward hosts like me and Tom? What do you got?
The Dom and Tom Show. Everybody share it, because I have some questions for Dom. And thank you for being vulnerable, Dom. Okay, you can answer yes or no to these questions. Do you only wear blue and white?
I do wear a lot of blue. My wife sometimes says to me, "Why do you have so many shirts that look exactly the same?" Maybe because I don't do well in earth
Yes or no?
tones.
Yes or no, Dom? Yes
No,
or no?
I don't only wear blue or white. Go.
Okay. When stumped by something, you think, Papa Smurf will know the answer.
No, but I used to have a Bentley the Beaver and a Lurky doll. Lurky was from Light Bright, I think, and it was giant, and I hugged Lurky, so maybe I would think Lurky has the answers. Go on.
Okay, these are yes or no questions.
Not doing well with that.
You think a mushroom house beats a penthouse any day?
Yes.
Okay. You know the name of Gargamel's cat?
No.
Oh, okay.
What?
You found it's Azrael. Okay.
Sorry.
Your favorite song is La 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 La.
No. It's probably G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. Go on.
You measure things by how many apples tall it is?
Yes.
I'm trying to ascertain if you're truly obsessed with the Smurfs, and you're kind of on the border. But
I said I sold my collection, so
that was stupid. You could be rich now.
Yeah. Now, come on now. Julie, tell us how to be like you, how to go.
Oh, geez. Nobody wants to be like me.
No, really, I want to know. You went into this world of, for instance, Julie just started doing TikTok. So tell us how you.
Yeah, that was fun, right? Like, my husband was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, because the game was on. I'm like, "I'm going to do a TikTok." He's like, "Oh."
Why did you put yourself out? Why did you put yourself out there on a platform that was new to you?
Right. And I always said I don't have the bandwidth to do TikTok, but TikTok's super fun. I'm just doing it. I just did it for fun, and it's so easy. So that's why I did it. But I didn't necessarily do it for branding. I mean, I think it's time all of us right here, like, take an assessment of what we're doing. I want you to Google yourself. Okay, right now, I'll waiting. Google yourself. What comes up when you Google yourself? Is it what you want to be portrayed as? I have been always an advocate for Google Business and really working Google. And I didn't even really know I was doing it, but I was doing it. So make sure you have a Google Business, number one, a Google Knowledge Panel. That's something that kind of verifies you on Google. And you want to be searchable. Yes, it's important to have all the social media, but not to the degree I see some people doing. Some people like just put all their eggs in that social media basket and don't realize it is about building relationships. I think I say this every single week, and it's about being searchable and thinking about keywords, SEOs, thinking about how Google's going to find you, thinking about doing things a little differently. That's why I started pitching myself to magazines, because I knew it would leverage my expertise. whether I get paid or not, it's paid off in dividends, because when I mention, oh, I write for this magazine or this magazine, people are like, oh, wow. And it's not that hard to do. You just pitch yourself. So know what you want to be remembered for, what differentiates you from everybody else. And do that, because that's the thing. We don't want to be like everybody else. At least I don't. So anyway, I'm going to go watch another episode of the Smurfs. So thanks, everybody, here to support. Dom and Tom are amazing. Share the room. David stuck his tongue out at me, by the way.
Uh-oh. Go on, David.Hy did Julie get a tongue stick out?
No, I was laughing because she said she's going to watch the Smurfs. That's what I was laughing at.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to have to go back to these Smurfs. I'll tell you what I also watch. I also watch Golden Girls like crazy. Love the Golden Girls.
I love that. Which Golden Girl are you, by the way?
Well, Sophia, I like Betty White and Sophia, but I want to say, so one day I get picked up by this van to go do the bikes and hikes, the show, and I have a shirt on. It says, picture this, Sicily 1922 or whatever. It's just like a drawing. And the producer, he says, what's with the shirt? And I'm like, it's the Golden Girls. And he's like, you need to go change that. And I'm like, you don't watch the Golden Girls? And he's like, no. And the guy has never watched the Golden Girls. That's a question. Like, have you watched Golden Girls or not? I don't know. Anybody that has not watched Golden Girls, come on.
This is almost as good as when Tom said he's going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Or what? Kill the baby. It's like, kill the baby. That was epic.
Yeah, you got to kill the baby. Sometimes you just have to kill the baby. Even though you love it. Sometimes you have to kill it. And I'm not going to give any more context to that.
I knew this room. This is like the paranormal room today. Okay, Heather, straighten us out.
It's my birthday. I can say crazy things if I want to.
That's true. It is Tom's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Tom.
Tom's 30 again.
Happy birthday, Tom. It is
Thanks,
also
guys.
Happy New Comic Book Day and Happy Andor Day.
Oh, it's today?
That's what Johnny's telling us.
That.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay, I'm getting confused by all that's going on. You guys are killing it today. I love the energy. I'm thankful for you. You never know what's going to happen, but my soul is full. My heart is full. You each have made this. I'm like the Grinch now, where that heart's getting bigger since we're in the Grinch, where it keeps growing and growing and growing. That's me. Okay, Heather. She's wishing Tom happy birthday. Heather, straighten us out here. Get us back on track. Talk about one of these tips or questions or thoughts. The floor is yours.
I mean, I don't think I can straighten y'all out. I'm a little nutty too. So, and I'm actually going to a chiropractor today to get straightened out because my neck is jacked. But yeah, I just love being in the room, and I do love what Julie said in regards to the search engine optimization. And I love how Favor is next to me. Shout out to Favor. He is like my old SEO OG on this app. But yeah, like search engine optimization, I find it kind of funny that like I know Julie's probably been around SEO for a minute, same with Favor, but like we've always known about it. And now like everybody else is jumping on like the SEO train. So like TikTok, that's all I see, are like videos about social media search engine optimization. But like us who've been in the business for a minute, SEO is nothing new, especially within social media. So yeah, I just wanted to build on that because Julie definitely spoke on SEO, and making sure that you are searchable, even like on Google, but like also within like the apps itself. So think about like if you have a podcast, like are you going to come up within that internal search engine of Spotify or Apple or whatever? So like you got to think like the broader SEO of Google. But then you also got to think of like the micro, like get niche down into like that specific platform and think about the search engine optimization of that specific platform that you're using. If it's Instagram to Spotify to Reddit to, whatever other random social media platforms that are out there that have search capabilities. So just wanted to add that. Thank you, Julie, for helping my train of thought.
I think that's good. How many people here? I'm curious now. How many people here have actually Googled either themselves or their business before? How many folks have done that, and what were the results? And did you do anything based on those results? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
I can. I have a Google knowledge panel, so that means that everything's kind of going direction. So check to see if you do have a Google knowledge panel. A lot of people don't even know they have a Google knowledge panel. Google just
Julie,
generates it.
what does that even mean? Hold on, what does Google Knowledge Panel even mean? You're like, oh, I got it. Like is it on my wall? Is it what's
So if
what's?
you have to
Come
go
on.
Google, okay, so everybody go to Google. Class is starting. Everybody go to Google, the actual Google search engine. Google your name, put your name in, and if you have a knowledge panel, it will show up like on the right of the listings, and it will show like your books or who you are. It kind of makes you an authority. You can try Googling my name, and you can see it if you know what it is. It takes a while. It's really like diversifying yourself all over the internet, you know. So Google's just recognizing that you have authority in whatever you do. If you have books, if you have podcasts, if you're a guest on podcasts, if you, have a LinkedIn account, if you, what else is something that pulls up really high? Like I'm on Muck Rack. I mean, I didn't even realize at the beginning what I was doing, but what I was doing is creating for Google to find me. And, guessing on podcasts, having book, writing for different entrepreneur magazine is a huge one that pulls me up in the search engine. So does anyone have, I want to know, did anyone Google themselves and find their Google panel?
So it's funny.
Claim
If
it.
you
I'm doing it right
Heather
now.
Cox,
Okay.
if you Google Heather Cox, just normal,
Oh, that's
comes
hard.
Heather, right? There's because Heather Cox Richardson is like huge. Like she
Right.
has the knowledge panel on the right. But when you just
What about
look
your
up
business,
Heather
like for
Cox
your name and your
Delaware,
business?
Heather Cox Delaware is my SEO, or Heather Cox Codes, because there's no way of competing with Heather Cox Richardson because she has a monopoly on the name.
Well, Heather Cox is such a like a common name,
Yeah.
So
Julie, let me ask, and this is for the room here. Clap if you pay Google any money.
The
In
only thing I've ever
ads,
done
whatever.
is like on YouTube. Like I've promoted some videos on YouTube.
Okay, so I'm going to go a different route here, just as a friend of mine that was a marketer for big companies, big insurance companies and things like that, big hospital companies. And here's a theory I'm going to give, and you take it for what it's worth. And the theory was, here's Google, one of the most successful companies in the world, one of the smartest companies in the world. They basically invented the algorithm. So if you paid Google money, do you believe that you would come up faster in their searches? Any money. And
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
okay. So what I'm suggesting is pay Google the lowest amount of money that your business can afford, that it will pay dividends back to you. In that suggestion, so for instance, Heather Cox, if Heather Cox was running ads, any kind of ads for her business, for her website on Google, she would be able to buy keywords. One of the keywords every one of us should invest in is our own name. So that if your name was searched, that you are playing and dancing with Google. That's the suggestion. It is something that
Okay, because here's the thing, because
go on.
How long do you have to spend money for? That's the thing. Is it forever? Is it into perpetuity? Like, are you spending $1 a month for the rest of your life so you could be found? That's why I think like more like you could totally do that, but like you should also really focus in on like the organic search engine optimization and not solely rely on ads.
100%. I'm just saying, so my premise here is as you start spending advertising dollar, whether and some of you may boost ads on Facebook, on TikTok, on Reels, you may be spending money in the Tribune Review or in your local Times. I am saying because they control so much of the algorithm, you may want to spend some money there. That's my suggestion.
And I absolutely believe you have to, put a little money into marketing, even if it's like an Instagram ad, even if it's like $2, just a little bit, because this is how they make money off of us. Okay. And you're favored. I have not put a lot of money. I think my reviews have really helped on my Google business. I pride myself on my reviews and my online reputation, but I do notice that I do get picked up because I have, so many reviews, and they're not fake either. I've been working on that for a long time, just asking the satisfied clients to spend 2 minutes and just write a review. So reviews are huge as well, I think.
Absolutely, Julie. And for our authors here, anybody about to sell a book or want, if you get reviews on Amazon, verified reviews are better than non-verified reviews. But if you get over 50, if you get to 100, Amazon really starts pushing your books. And you're like, wow, that's a pain in the butt. But they'll really, if you look down at your books on, like if you're searching Amazon and you have books there, you'll see down at the bottom it says suggested books. Those are usually ones with more reviews. The more reviews you can get, the more often they're suggested. Amazon is in the business of making money. They know that those books have sold. They know that they have verified reviews. So authors here, if you can, bump up those reviews. Okay, let's reset. This is a good subject matter here. Clubhouse, publishing, podcasting, and social media. One of our media darlings, Dr. Tachi, one of our favorites in the room. Dr. Tachi, you hear all these subjects we're talking about, and we had conversations about Smurfs this morning, G.I. Joe. It's been quite a room. So jump in, Dr. Tachi.
Hey, good morning. So let me preface by saying that if I drop out, it's because it's really windy outside. I'm in Florida, not on the side where the hurricane is hitting, but we're still getting a lot of wind. So I've been having kind of flickering stuff. So if I drop out, that's why. So what specifically? 'Cause I'm trying to grasp everything. What specifically was the last topic, if you don't mind?
Man, and we went all over. We were talking about Google. Julie started talking about Googling your business. How does it show up? She called it, what did you call it, Julie? I wish I would have wrote that down.
The knowledge panel.
A knowledge panel. So if you Google your name, is there a knowledge panel that shows up on the side? That was one thing. But we're really talking about, I'm going to go over the topics. I'm going to read this here, Dr. Tachi. So you're in luck for anybody who's just joining the room. We were talking, early on, we started talking about networking, and it was, do you just show up? Are you at the networking event? Or are you pushing your business down people's throats? And then our buddy Kyle said, when he goes to a networking event, he'll go up to people and ask them, ketchup or mustard? And because he wants to know the person. And we were floored by this subject, just how you could approach things a different way. And we started talking about sales a little bit and knowing, do you even know what your business does? Do you not know? Then we had a question. David asked about awkward pauses. I'm doing good on my review here. I feel good about this. David asked about when you're interviewing, do you feel awkward pauses? Julie quizzed me on my Smurf knowledge because I admitted I had a collection of Smurfs back in the day. Tom started saying things about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. He went down a path.
No, kill the baby.
Man, I tried to soften that, and you went back to it.
But that's not the term is kill the baby. That's the production term.
Okay, production term. Interesting. So, Dr. Tachi, go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, we've talked about it in here before. It's probably one that Dr. Tachi is familiar with in media production. Sometimes you got to kill the baby.
Yes, well, with the dead cat.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Although you don't kill the baby with a dead cat, there's a dead cat around sometimes when you kill the baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
This room has officially been shadow banned by Clubhouse. You'll see people's faces falling out of here and nobody here next week. So, Dr. Tachi, go on. Now you're here. We are talking about a whole lot. So, jump in wherever you want.
Yeah, this is a menagerie of things. It's like soup. I like this. So let me go. Let me go back to networking. It's well. First of all, I Googled myself, and I don't often do that. You don't realize that what you want to show up is not showing up until you do Google yourself. So I've done all this wonderful only for the stuff that I'm like, that's what the hell is on Google. And so I need to look at that. So it's a good exercise to Google yourself. And then secondly, going back to the networking thing, how do you go in there? How do you show up? I think it probably sounds trite, but you show up as you, and you you have an understanding of what you're looking for out of networking. Obviously you're looking to make connections and hopefully that translates to something else, probably business, etc. But I don't think that always has to be your first go-to and first thing, because I can tell you when people come up and they're networking hard with the concept of making a connection to make a sale, I can't stand that. Because it's like, I don't know you, sir, madame, or whoever. I don't. So why would I? And you're going to encounter people that are like that. That doesn't mean I'm not open to it, but I can see through you. I mean, I've studied communication for all of my adult life. How do I not see through everything? So I approach it with that, and I'm looking at that. I've also discovered for myself that there is such power in networking with those people you may not have met in person yet. Like everybody in this room, people you meet on Clubhouse, people that I met through live streaming, etc. I've honestly had more success networking and keeping connections with them than I have with some people in real life in this area. And I'm speaking very specifically about my area because each area has a different culture, right? And you'll find that. I found, and sorry to say, but I'm not sorry, not sorry, that I found that in the area I'm in, the networking is kind of false and not that great. So I've had better success elsewhere. In fact, the networking successes I did have in this area are because it was a conference and people came from someplace else. So that doesn't mean it's greater someplace else. It just means that there is a culture, and each area has an organizational culture of the way things are done. So if you're noticing, this is not jiving with me, it's not for nothing. It's probably because you don't align necessarily with the communication culture or organization culture that's in that area. And if you're in an area, you kind of start to, unless you specifically try, like I have, kind of take on the ways of that specific culture. And I don't mean to get all deep in philosophical or communication professory, but if you've noticed that you're not really meshing with people in a particular area, whatever that may be, it could be geographical, it could be field, that could be why, because each area has a specific culture. And so knowing that, I tend to network elsewhere and it works well for me. It doesn't mean I won't network with people in this area. I'm just very specific and particular because I don't want it to be a waste of my time. But I only got that through experience and trial and error. So I don't know if any of this is making any sense, but that's my contribution today to this menagerie of soup.
We appreciate you calling it soup. I like that, and we like soup here. So, Dr. Tachi, just help me out here. Let's say we're at an event. Like I've went to networking events like in Manhattan before, and went in the bathroom and like splashed water on my face and said, "Okay, I got to get my shit." I said, "I got to get my shit together and get out and start meeting people," because those people weren't just coming to me. Even in Pittsburgh, that's happened. So, what do you think? Like Dr. Tachi, how should we? We're at this networking event. We all attend them. We're at one and our vibes off, we're the new person. Anybody, I'll get Dr. Tachi here, but any tips for surviving, succeeding, not I went to a Halloween party. I don't know if I ever told you this. I went to a Halloween party one time. I was having I didn't know everybody, and I didn't know enough people there. I was so uncomfortable. I went out in the backyard, climbed a fence, and ran home. So how do we avoid not running home like I did, Dr. Tachi, that time? Go on.
And, I think everybody feels like that at some point. I think though you just have to sit down. So, sit down at the table, not just sit down, but sit down at the table. I'll give you an example. I often go to these events that are put on by publications by TV Technology, Adweek, etc. And TV Technology does a lot of events for general managers of local stations and from all over the country, and it's free, and all you have to do is get there, but they pay for your hotel and everything. And so I am one that always likes to find these opportunities. So I said, "Hey, I'm going to go. Let me see if they'll let me go." And because I'm not a jet station manager or work at a television station, but I do teach this. So I said to them, "Well, I teach this, and I would like to be in on the conversation." They're like, "Yes, and let us know if you have any other academic friends that would like to come." So I started telling them as well. So obviously, most of the time it's not academics. Most of the time it's men. Most of the time it's white men. But and so that's a really that is a place where you can feel very uncomfortable, right? And if you allow yourself. But my thing is like, well, they said I could come, which means I belong here. I deserve to be here. So I'm just going to sit down at the table and the interesting thing is they're so interested in the things that I'm doing, not just in the classroom, but just in general. And so I ended up networking and meeting a lot of people that way. So I think sometimes it's us that we perceive that we don't belong, that we are going to mess things up when the other people are not necessarily thinking that way. Maybe sometimes they are, but often they're not. So it's just sitting down and getting involved in conversations. You see, just go around to the different groups. There are usually different clusters that form at these networking events or whatever. Go along to the around to the different clusters. Jump in on conversations because usually people are kind enough and polite enough to include you in the conversation if you're standing there. That would be my thoughts from my experience.
Dr. Tachi, great tips. And as we get back, as the pandemic changes the world, and I noticed I was at a restaurant last night, and the restaurant was the most packed I've seen it in 2 years on a Tuesday night. So this networking is going to be something that's more prevalent here. So anybody else have any tips on being uncomfortable and how to get comfortable being uncomfortable? What do you got? Tom.
I can
Okay,
speak on
hold
that
on,
one.
hold on. We're gonna go. Quinn, what do you got on this?
Yeah, sorry, I was waiting for the pause. I didn't see anybody else talking,
No, you're good, man.
so okay. um, so I am an ambivert in terms of like the overall, makeup of my personality, socially, whatever. It took me a long time to figure that out. I only recently learned that term, in fact, but uh, I, for one, do not sort of subscribe to the battery analogy for myself. People, if you're familiar with like extrovert and introvert, there's a battery analogy there. Like introverts get their power from being alone, extroverts get their power from being with other people, kind of thing. Didn't really jive with me, but I think that's because I am an ambivert. So I can be social, I can be by myself. I just get my power from a variety of different things. Just depends. I try to focus on having quality interactions with people. I do try to get out of my head. I try to be positively or healthily self-aware, but not self-conscious or not, you know, neurotically in my own head, neurotically self-aware or self-conscious. And I just kind of let myself be in the space. So if I'm going somewhere and the goal is to network, which as others have pointed out, the goal should be to engage and to be real, not just to like pitch yourself or be like extremely transactional. then just do that. I wasn't here for when Kyle was speaking, but I like the idea of just asking a question multiple times in business and business development and business advice rooms I've been in on other social media, social audio platforms, because Clubhouse can be difficult sometimes these days. I've found people saying similar things, like just talk to people, just engage, just be a person, ask them about themselves, right? When you first engage with someone, is the first thing you say something about you or something about them, or is it a question or a statement? These things are worth looking into and just being aware of in yourself. Try to adjust yourself to be more appealing to the other person. Think about things from the outside in, but in a natural way that's not forced. Um, when you do go in for something as simple as like a business card exchange, if you still use business cards, I use business cards. How do you do that, right? I practice proper Japanese meishi etiquette, which I feel like really goes over well, especially in Western cultures, because it's not just this. Oh, here's a thing. You're throwing it at them. It's very like sort of ceremonial and deliberate, and people are like, "Oh, this is special," because it is, right? This is you on a card. This is you're giving a piece of yourself to this person, so there should be some specialness, some reverence there. But yeah, those are my tips. Hope that made sense.
Quinn, man, absolutely. I'm glad you dropped by, and I'm pleased to meet you. So thank you for sharing those. Those were good stuff, man. Come back anytime. Clubhouse, publishing, podcasting, and social media. We do this every Wednesday. We have a club. Join the club. You'll get some pings when we have rooms or when we set them up, that kind of thing. Hey, Kyle, we're going to hit favor, but before we hit favor, do you want to go back and tell us your hot dog and mustard story for anybody that wasn't there at the time? Give us a rundown on that. Hot dog, mustard, onions, relish. Okay, no. Tom, you have to tell Kyle's story about hot dogs and mustard.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a great technique, because we were talking about how, you go to these networking events and people are just walking up and sort of shoving what they do down your throat, right? And often it's easy to kind of find yourself pulled into that style of communication, and it's not a good style of communication, right? It's not a good way of talking to other people. You would never walk up to somebody and say, "Here's what I do," and then hold your hand out and expect them to put cash in that hand, because it's a crazy way to talk to people. But that's what people do a lot of times when they walk up to a stranger at a networking event and start talking about what they do and how much it costs and how they can help that person, right? So Kyle shared his approach to sort of change the course of conversation and essentially break the ice between two people. And he simply says ketchup or mustard. And when the person he's talking to inevitably goes, "Huh?" he says ketchup or mustard. What do you put on your hot dog? Ketchup or mustard? And I thought that was a genius way to do it, a great way to sort of change tact and break the ice. And I'm sure often people chuckle and laugh about it. And I will stand by my earlier statements, which may be controversial to some people, but there's a right answer and a wrong answer to that if you're over 12 years old. And the right answer, if you're over 12, is mustard. Because only children under 12 years old should put ketchup on a hot dog, or should be allowed to put ketchup on a hot dog. And I will stand by that statement. But yeah, that's what Kyle's hot dog or ketchup or mustard story was. Hope I did it justice.
You did good. I wish I could drop a fire emoji when Tom was giving his stance on ketchup versus mustard. When my wife was pregnant, like, we had been married, let's say, 10 years at the time. And we were at a baseball game, and she asked me to go get her hot dogs because she was obviously months pregnant. And I came back and I had put ketchup on the hot dogs, and, just trying to be nice. And she was like, how do you not know after 10 years that I don't eat ketchup on a hot dog? I'm like, I just thought I was being nice, but yeah, I dropped the ball on that. Okay, let's meet our man Favor here. Help brands and businesses grow with applied SEO. Favor, we were talking about SEO, so if you want to drop some, we would love to hear some layman, meaning I'm a simple man, layman SEO tips. But if you have a question, we got Dr. Tachi and Kyle and David and Tom in the house, but Quinn, our new friend. So go on, Favor.
Thank you, Dominic, and also happy birthday to you, Tom. Thank you all for the amazing opportunity to be here. I may drop off in the next 20 minutes because I may have a call with a client, but I want to make sure that I'm leaving some value here in this amazing room, in this amazing space. I will not go over your heads, I promise, because sometimes SEO can get really daunting, especially for those who are just starting off and trying to figure out what it is and how to apply it. So I'll use a concept that was used earlier by Julie and my good friend Heather about, Googling yourself. Now, to the question that was asked, Jamie's not in the room. She left because there was a question she had in the chat, and I think also Dr. Tachi also talked about it too. And she said, when I Google myself, I get 1 out of 10 posts about myself. And that's actually what I searched, and it's true. Now, the thing about this is that even though you want your name to be on Google search, you also have to think about the other platforms you are available on Google. So for me, for example, I have a podcast called We Don't Play. And if you search for that, you'll find my name. If you're looking for anything to do with my business, Work and Play Entertainment, you will find my name. If you're looking for anything that I've been featured on either on a YouTube show or somewhere on Reddit, you'll find my name. So my point here is when you now look at your Google search and you find the links that are on that search feed, if you prioritize it from the first to the last, it will give you a hindsight of what is priority to your brand or your name or your presence. So if, for example, for me, when I typed in my name, my full name, Favor Obasi Ike, the first thing that comes up is LinkedIn. That makes sense because I'm on LinkedIn a lot and I usually do a lot of business on LinkedIn. So that tells Google that because of my activity, my time, my engagement is heavily on LinkedIn, Google prioritizes LinkedIn at the top of the feed. If you look at my business name, Work and Play Entertainment, the first thing you will see is my website. Now, after the website, you're going to see reviews about the business. And my name is still there because people talk about me, within their reviews. I don't tell them what to write because that's illegal, but you want to make sure that they're writing something that is based on what you have given them as a customer service experience. So when you're thinking about SEO, search engine optimization, it's not about how to get on Google's first page. It's about how well can you help people with things that you have, content that you supply, that people can be able to benefit from if they ever search for something related to you. And when people are searching online, they're searching for things specifically. There are 4 types of searches. There's informational searches or keywords, there's navigational keywords, commercial keywords, transactional keywords. I'll break it down really quickly so that we all have an understanding. Informational keywords would be like how to tie a tie, or how to bake turkey for Thanksgiving, or where to find the best restaurant to eat for dinner tonight. Navigational keywords could be Facebook login or Nike privacy policy. Commercial keywords could be like Nike versus Adidas, Lamborghini versus
Hey,
Ferrari.
Favor. So with these keywords, where do we put the keywords? So like if I'm trying to create keywords, if I'm Dr. Tachi and I want to create that, her pre-show, or if I'm David and I'm outside, where am I logging keywords in? Is it when I'm posting something? Is it hashtags? Is it in metadata in websites? Where does that happen?
Good, really great question. That's what you just said is actually true. All of them, all the lists that you mentioned, they all need to be applied there. Because when you have your keywords, especially if you want to rank for a keyword, because you only have one spot on Google if you want to rank for one keyword, because Google ranks your web page, not your website. So if you want to rank for a specific keyword, and let's say you are you know, an author, or you're someone that is interested in maybe a coach, you may be doing transformational coaching or personal development, then your meta titles, your meta tags, that's what Google is going to read. You also need to have a website. A lot of people say, I don't need a website in 2022, but it's still as important as it was years back. Just as emails are so important. If you're logging into Clubhouse right now, you need to have an email attached to it to be able to be in here. So when you think about even your name here on Clubhouse, your name on Clubhouse is on Google. My Clubhouse link is on Google search right now if you search for my name. So everything about you that needs to be visible to Google and to the consumer. So that means your website needs to be connected to the Google Search Console, which is mandatory. It's free, and that's why Google gives it free to the website, users, because they know the value of what you need to bring to the table when people are looking for your name. So if you're thinking about a keyword, like you said, Dominique, and you want to rank for that, if I go the podcast route, for me, I would run a series on the same keyword and split it up into different segments, different episodes. Make sure it's in the title, it's in the description, it's in the anchor text, it's in the actual URL slug, it's in my captions, it's in my auto-generated captions, which is what I'm speaking on. And that way, eventually, Google Search Console will index and crawl your site, your page. And most people have like a podcast and they have a web page to support that. Maybe they have a Patreon or something that's going to help them boost their traffic, or maybe have subscriptions, to send out weekly newsletters or monthly newsletters. Wherever you are, you want to make sure that that keyword is consistent, because there's something about Google. There's an acronym that says EAT, EAT. The acronym stands for expertise, authority, and trust. So if Google can see you as an expert and you have authority, meaning that your domain has content, and which always goes up every year, and you are trustworthy, meaning that you don't send people spam links, you're not spamming them, you're not doing black hat SEO kind of stuff, then Google will acknowledge your account and give you credit where it's due, because people are looking for content all over. And if you have a fresh perspective and you're coming from a good place and you're helping people, then Google will automatically give you that credit that it's due. So it's not really hard. It's just being intentional and making sure that all your ducks in a row, and Google can find you. Hope that helps.
I got to tell you, I mean, that's the amount of information that Favor just dropped on us is like kind of here's where my mind goes. My mind goes immediately to, this is not something I should try to do on my own. This is something that I should get an expert to help me with or to do for me. Right. Like immediately that's where my mind goes, because the amount of man hours it would cost me to develop some rudimentary proficiency in SEO and learning about how Google works and understanding all of the things that Favor just talked about is far outweighs what it would cost me to hire somebody who's an expert in SEO marketing to optimize my website and social media presences for SEO. So I just immediately my mind goes to, this is one of those places where I think people spend a lot of time, especially entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, startups, spend a lot of time trying to understand SEO when it is super far outside of their realm of or their zone of genius, and they end up wasting a lot of time, and that in turn costs them money. Whereas if they spent a little bit of money, and I think you start out small, right? Like, I'm not saying hire a marketing firm at $5,000 a month to start out with. I'm saying a couple $100 a month, you could probably get somebody to optimize, your website for SEO, right? And to help you get start ranking for keywords in your social media and, across different platforms. So like, it just strikes me as something that it makes so much sense with something that is so intricate that it makes so much sense to hire an expert. That's where my mind went, listening to Favor, that you really ought to hire somebody who's an expert at what they do. And I think it's something that a lot of people, and I'm 100% guilty of this myself, I will absolutely lump myself into this category. A lot of people don't do. is they don't hire an expert. They DIY everything, and sometimes it makes a lot more sense to pay an expert to do something than it does to try to DIY it, just because of the man hours it costs you, because the cost outweighs the benefit. I don't know. What do you think, Dom?
I love the conversation, and as a publisher, I am all for like people figuring out how to self publish. Go for it. It could be lowest cost option. It could be maybe you know somebody that's a good editor. Maybe you're great at design. Maybe this. Go for it. But a lot of times I'll see those people that go that route come back later on because maybe they miss some things like metadata or the spine size of their book, or these things that, well, I didn't know that a bookstore couldn't buy my book, so they went out on their own, tried something, which I'm all for, because maybe that's the best path for you. Explore, but just make sure you do your research on whatever it is. And I always look too on, maybe if money's not an issue, or is money an issue, if money, like, you can bootstrap everything in life. I love bootstrapping. I've bootstrapped so much stuff where you go out and hustle, you put in the time. Sometimes, like Tom's saying, you may be able to spend a dollar on whatever it is, maybe some marketing, maybe some SEO, maybe it's a coach that helps you jump the line, and you don't have to bang your head up against a wall when somebody else already out there did bang their head up against the wall and figured out maybe a smoother path for you. All right, let's keep moving here, Tom. This is the room every Wednesday. We start at 9:30. We go to around 11 or so. We talk Clubhouse. We talk publishing. We talk podcasting and social media. We got our friend Quinn here. We got Favor, Dropping Knowledge, Dr. Tachi, David, Tom, and now we're going to meet Aiden. You hear all the subjects we're talking about today. Drop a tip, ask a question. The floor is yours. If anybody else wants to raise their hand and come up, we're getting ready to shut that down. So raise those hands. But first, we are going to meet Aiden. Looks like he's got a cover of his book here. He's got a nice looking world on it. I'm interested. Would you like to have the simple tools to change your life? That's what it says. Well, let's have them, man. All right, Aiden, what's up, my friend?
Hi, how you doing? Good to meet you guys. Good listening in. It was interesting listening to the SEO and the tidbits while I was sitting here on my computer clearing cookies and caches and shouting at it and saying what's going on and relogging into stuff. Yeah, it's been giving me a headache at the moment. Um, Tips and tools and tricks. Yeah. Yes, I've written some books, and that one is like a subtitle: "A Journey to Self." So, a layman's perspective, a journey to self, succeed, elevate, and live free. Um, Simple tools to change how we live. And that's a compilation of what I did, obviously changing my own life and things that started to work. So it's a suggestive, it's not a preachy, it's a suggestive. Give it a shot, see how it goes. To go back to the things, I liked what Julie mentioned about what she wanted to be remembered for. What is it that would set her apart? And that kind of struck where, I guess, if I was to pose a question or something to ponder right now in this conversation, would be, you know, could you, any of us, anybody, think about what defines you? What is that defining moment? Because we all have several. And I guess talking about keywords, talking about what we do, what you do, what's going on, through my learning experience, as you had mentioned, and getting into writing and stuff, it's always about how can you concise it down? How can you break it down smaller? What's your pitch? What's your log line? What's your, give it to me in 5 words, not a, 500-page book. And then we're talking keywords. So it's a one word. What is the one word? And I was listening to Favor about his name is very popular to him because every time he said, if you look up this, you'll get his name. If you look up that, you'll get his name, which is obviously like his link tree to everything, I guess. And as far as being your own brand, as a person, your name, I put out my first book, Two Sons Too Many, and then I made all my social medias that, and realized later then, oh, I better set up a Twitter account in my own name because everybody knows Two, but not me. And there's more to me than just that. So I put my foot forward thinking, that's what defines me. This is me. I'm out there in the world. And then realized, oh, that is not the defining piece of me, but that's what everybody got to know first. So that is of interest to me, and I kind of learning to concise things down. I'll shut up soon. And, if we give a thought about what is that defining keyword, what is that message, how concise could it be? Because I think the more intricate it gets, that's where you lose people on the internet. The internet's about speed. It's about clickety click, clickety click. So, the internet is a tool we use. Obviously, we're meeting here via the internet. And all that SEO and our websites, web pages, or whatever we do, it's about the internet. So I like connecting with people, genuine authenticity, that kind of stuff, and have built a small audience base through genuine connections, real genuine people. Sometimes we're on the same buzz. We're all out there doing something, and yeah, just connecting with people, and then you meet the good people, and the good people share your stuff, and they lead their friends there, and it does have a ripple effect. I'm not into throwing money to the Google, Facebook kind of pissed me off before because I target set and target audience and geographic locations, and I was spending money on ads, and I noticed towards the end of my ad time frame, I was getting clicks from Azerbaijan and God knows what part of the world. And I'm like, they're just running up my budget here. They're scamming me. And I didn't like it. So I stopped and I went back to organic and meeting the good folks like yourselves, meeting genuine people on the same hustle. The genuinity speaks volumes and I love it. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much for the time and I love listening in.
Hey, Aiden, man, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Appreciate your feedback on all those things and bringing up the Facebook point too. We haven't talked about Facebook advertising in a while, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on that. If you're going to advertise on Facebook, which I believe in it, $1 billion company, $1 trillion maybe now, but you better make sure your ticket item is a high enough ticket item. If you're trying to sell, if you're paying $100 for an ad and you're selling $2 items, you need to look at your ROI on that. You need to sell a lot of $2, $5 margin items. So you better raise your ticket item. So, for instance, a car dealer can advertise all day long on Facebook because they make, bottom line, they're making $500 a thousand every one they close. You will not see Coca-Cola advertise on billboard and TV all day long because they don't put their money into really that kind of advertising for that reason. Okay, we are going, our last one up on stage, our friend Julie Rock comes around. You got to get Julie Rock up on stage. Julie Rock. So we've been talking all things today, all things social media. We're talking about the dash in your life, on the tombstone, that little thing in between. That is the most important. Sometime along the journey, it is not the beginning or the end. Tom said that earlier. It's not that photo at the end or the photo at the beginning. It's that journey along the way. So Julie Rock, the stage is yours. The mic is yours. Take us where we want to go or ask a question. We like those two. Go on.
Hi, thanks for having me up here, and hello to all my friends on the stage. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I just bought this necklace, and the necklace is called Trust the Journey. And when you said that, I put the necklace on for the first time today. And, what I always talk about is staying on course, and that this is a journey, and there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and it's not about the destination. And, recently I'm just listening to some of these TikTokers, one of them being Gary Vee, and he's like, you gotta love the process. You have to love the process. Find joy in the process, because a lot of us are trying to build our own businesses. create our own offerings and things like that. But it's the process that we need to enjoy, the creative moments in the process, the people that you're bringing along with you in the process, and those relationships that you're building, and also the legacy you're leaving behind. So I thank you for asking me about the dash, because now I'm like going even deeper with this today. And part of my dash is to help other people discover their purpose and stay on course. And even just now, in a few minutes, I'm going to bring over this canvas to my mother-in-law to draw something, because we're working on a workshop for young people to help them discover their purpose. And so I hope that when I look at that dash one day, or when I see the life review of my life, I will have good feelings and thoughts about it, because at the end, it's about the legacy we leave and the journey we're on. Thank you for letting me share.
Julie, that was beautiful, and I'm so glad you came up on stage and shared that with us. Spectacular. Keep doing the work you're doing. So this is Clubhouse Publishing, Podcasting, and Social Media. We've been here for about an hour and a half. I talked about Smurfs, and Kyle talked about hot dogs, and we talked about some wild stuff today. But Tom's the most important thing, maybe that dash. But I have nothing deep to add, so we're going to let Tom take us home and put the pressure on him. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dom. So just want to say thanks to everybody in the comments and everybody who said during the room today. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Really appreciate it. And I, it was funny. We started out talking about, networking and the moments in between, and, not going into situations looking for problems to fit your solution, but rather looking for problems that you can help solve. And I was thinking about kind of how I wanted to leave things today. And there was a comment that from Dr. Tachi, where she said in the chat, "What if you don't like condiments?" And I was like, who doesn't like condiments? Condiments are life, right? And what I meant by that, here's where I'm coming from. Here's where my brain is at. I love condiments. I'm one of those people that has a ridiculous number of condiments in my fridge. And the reason for that, the reason I like sauces, hot sauces, and all kinds of different things, chutneys, relishes, pickled stuff, whatever, is because it adds flavor and depth to food, right? And so that's what I meant when I said condiments are life. And so it got me thinking about hot sauce. And I know not everybody likes spicy food, and that's fine. I'm not going to try to force everybody to eat spicy food, although I think people who don't eat spicy food are missing out. What I am going to do is this. I promise I have a point. I'm going to, I want to ask everybody, and I'm going to do this too. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. But I want to ask everybody here, everybody who's listening, everybody who sees this, to just take a couple of minutes today to try something new. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's as simple as trying a new hot sauce or putting ketchup on a hot dog, although I'm still not sure why you would want to do that. Whatever the case may be, try something new today, because it's all about those unexpected moments in between. It's all about the journey. It's all about the experiences that we have throughout our lives that add richness and depth to our lives and to the lives of those around us. So take a minute today, please. I'm going to do it on my birthday today. And I'm going to try something new, and then I'm going to share it. I'm going to post about it. So I would encourage everybody else to do the same. If you try something new, share it with the world, share the process, right? Because we're all going through the same process of life, right? Together as we hurtle through space on this rock we call Earth. So yeah, let's try something new today. How about that? Is that a good way to end it?
Beautiful. I love it, man. Thanks all. We're out of here in 3, 2, happy birthday, Tom. And we're out of here. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, guys.